Welcome to my channel where we discuss everything and all things politics, especially about the 2023 presidential election, which was held on February 25, 2023, and the winner announced on March 1st, 2023. And that outcome is being challenged at the Presidential Election Tribunal, which has given it verdict, and now the matter is headed to the Supreme Court, which I had earlier talked about if you're a follower of this channel. Now, since Wednesday, September 6th, 2023, when the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal delivered its judgment, the mood of the country had been very, very terrible state. Most Nigerians are angry. Most Nigerians are disappointed. Most Nigerians are worried about the future of democracy, about the future of our judiciary. A whole lot of things are happening. But I want to say there is still hope. I want to say that the judiciary can still redeem itself. I want to also show that Nigerians should take it as it is and look forward to a better Nigeria, to a better judgment at the Supreme Court. Let us not write off the whole judiciary. And then I'm saying all this for us to understand before I go into the real gist about the real reason that I think, that's my own thoughts, why the justices of the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal did what they did on Wednesday. And they may deny it, they may say it is not so, but this is my thinking. And I have freedom of thought, I have freedom of speech, I have freedom of expression, I have freedom of thinking. That's one of my fundamental human rights, to think the way I thought fit, in every way I see, as a discernible Nigerian who is in a vintage position to be able to think the way I am thinking. Now, if you look at the judgment on Wednesday, the justices were very careful. The only thing they could grant the petitioners that will not shake the country is that Peter Obi cannot be disqualified from being the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, that he was duly nominated for the position. You know, if you look at the last written address of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the APC, one of the things they demanded was that Peter Obi should be disqualified, that ab initio he was not qualified to contest for the election, that he was not a registered member of the Labour Party, as at the time that Labour Party, that he joined the party. He was not, he emerged the candidate of the party, that he was not a registered member of the party. Despite the fact that a court of appeal had already ruled on this matter and cleared Peter Obi of that allegation, but they brought it up at the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal. And that was one of the reasons that they gave to the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, that in case there is going to be a rerun, that Peter Obi of the Labour Party should not participate. He should be disqualified because he was not a registered member of the party as at the time he was their candidate. But that had been taken care of earlier, before the election, by the appeal court. Now, that was the only safest thing they could indict Tinubu with. That's the only safest ruling they could have given on Wednesday. every other thing that the petitioners asked for. For example, the petitioners asked that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu election should be cancelled based on Section 134, Subsection 2B of the 1999 Constitution. That is that 25% in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, is compulsory. And that was in line with the ruling of the Supreme Court in 2008 in President Yaradua versus Muhammad Buhari. Okay? The Supreme Court ruled that the and in that section of the Constitution is conjunctive. It is compulsory. Because that section said that for anyone to be declared the winner of the presidential election in Nigeria, where two or more candidates participated in an election, the person must first get majority of the vote cast in the election. A, that's A. B, the person must get 25% in 2/3 of the states of the federation and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. The Supreme Court had in several interpretations given that and as conjunctive, which means it is compulsory. But you can see that the justices of the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, they overlooked that. Rather, they agreed with APC that there is nothing special about the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. That there is nothing special about the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Now, if they had ruled that 25% in Abuja is compulsory, Tinubu's election would have been nullified. The justices of the appeal court or the justices of the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal may not want the consequences of nullification of Tinubu's election at this level. Okay? Now, if they had ruled that $460,000 proceeds of narcotic that was forfeited to the United States government is a crime, as the Supreme Court had already proven in Mohammed Abacha versus federal government in 2014. That forfeiture is evidence of crime. It's evidence of crime committed. And if they had agreed on that, it means that the Section 137 will come into effect, where it was shown that if you commit crime that shows evidence of dishonesty, you are disqualified. And if that had taken place, Tinubu's election would have been disqualified, would have been annulled on Wednesday. They didn't want to do that. I'll come to the reason why they didn't do that, my own thinking. Because every other prayer that they asked for, both Atiku and Peter Obi, if any of them was agreed by the justices, if they had agreed with them and they overwhelmingly passed it, it was enough. Any of them was enough to nullify the election. Okay? Now, if they had looked at his certificate forgery allegation and they agreed that he forged his certificate, it's enough to nullify his election. If they agree that he had dual citizenship, that is enough to nullify President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's election. Now, supposing the justices of the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal had annulled Tinubu's election on Wednesday and declared that he was not duly elected, what will happen? Tinubu will appeal to the Supreme Court. Now, if Tinubu appealed to the Supreme Court, it's not a question of if. He would appeal to the Supreme Court if he had lost on Wednesday, if he was sacked on Wednesday. Now, what will be the future of the justices that annul his election if the Supreme Court upholds Tinubu when he gets to the Supreme Court? It means that their judicial career is over. That is a big bullet that I believe that these justices dodged on Wednesday. That's my own thinking. That's my own take. That they understand the law. Because what they said that day doesn't really make sense to a lot of Nigerians, even to me. How they disregarded 25%, how they disregarded the forfeiture, how they claim that it was Tinubu's account that was indicted and not Tinubu himself on the forfeiture of $460,000. The way I see it, they merely dodged the bullet because there will be consequences if they nullified Tinubu's election. If they had nullified Tinubu's election on Wednesday, and then when the matter gets to the Supreme Court uphold Tinubu's election, their career in the judiciary will be over. There will be consequences. To me, that is a bullet they may have dodged by sustaining Tinubu's election, allowing the Supreme Court to take the decision, the courageous decision about the fate of Tinubu. Because right now, when the thing gets to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court were able to see the merit of the petitions, the Supreme Court can have the courage to nullify Tinubu's election and can even declare that there is no need for a rerun, and can even declare Peter Obi as the winner of the election. In that case, if that election is nullified at that level, there is nothing President Bola Ahmed Tinubu could do to the justices of the Supreme Court. He can't sack them. He has to leave. He has to vacate the presidency. If there is going to be let us even assume in a worst case scenario that there is a rerun, I don't even see how he will be qualified to participate in a rerun based on the petitions, especially the issue of disqualification. If he's disqualified as a result of that his forfeiture of $460,000, he cannot participate in a rerun. He will be disqualified. In that case, he can't do nothing to the career of the Supreme Court justices. He can't sack them. He can't do them anything. He has to leave and go back home. So that is the way I see what happened. And that is why, in my mind, people should not totally condemn them for their judgment. Perhaps what they did was a self-preservation judgment. That is my thinking. Perhaps what they did was a self-preservation judgment and leave the major job for the Supreme Court to do, the courageous job, which will at the end of the day have serious consequences. But now it will not affect the career of the Supreme Court judge, because if the Supreme Court judge sacks, if the Supreme Court justices sack as Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that he is disqualified on the grounds of forgery, as happened in Bayelsa State, or on the grounds of dishonesty in the forfeiture of $460,000 process of narcotic, which they didn't deny that he submitted it, and so on. If he's disqualified, he has to vacate. Therefore, he will not be in a position to victimize the Supreme Court justices. He will not be in a position to do that. But supposing the appeal court justices at the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal sacks him, and then the Supreme Court returns him, he will be in a position to victimize the Presidential Election Petition justices. That's my understanding of it. And I don't blame them for trying to preserve their jobs, okay, in my own thinking. And besides, it is more better for the country if there is going to be any nullification, let it be done by the Supreme Court, because that nullification will be final. There will be no more opportunity for Tinubu to appeal. It will be final. If he's sacked, he has to leave. He has to go home. If the court is to rule that he will participate in a rerun, then he will participate. But I don't see how, if he's disqualified on the ground of dishonesty, if he's disqualified on the grounds of forgery, that he will be allowed to participate in a rerun. So, all in all, I think people should understand what's happened on Wednesday and therefore just forget about them and look forward to what the Supreme Court will say. The Supreme Court will have the final say. Okay? And like they used to say, like Justice Soputa used to say, after the Supreme Court, you can only appeal to God. That is the end of the matter. So let us look at the Supreme Court, what they have to offer, and let us also believe that there is hope for Peter Obi at the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is not going to just dismiss everything the way these people did. And I can understand why they did what they did. So that is why I believe that there is still hope in the Supreme Court. Let us not write off the judiciary until the Supreme Court rules. Thank you for watching this video. And if you are new to my channel, you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel. Hit the subscription button, hit the notification bell. When you subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell, anytime I have a new video, you'll be among the first to know. God bless you. And please don't forget to like this video, because when you like it, Google will rank it high and recommend it for more people. Thank you, and God bless you and yours.